For many people over 50, knee discomfort begins so subtly that it almost feels insignificant. A faint stiffness when getting out of bed, a soft click when climbing stairs, a quiet ache after a long walk. At first, it's easy to ignore. You tell yourself it's just part of getting older, but what if these small signals weren't inevitable? What if they were the body's way of whispering a warning? That something in your daily routine, something you do almost automatically, is quietly wearing down the very joints that carry you through life. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that your knees, once dependable, strong, and almost invisible in their reliability, now dictate what you can and cannot do. Every step becomes a calculation, every movement a negotiation. The simple act of bending to pick something up becomes an event. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repetition, through habits so ordinary they seem harmless. Yet day by day they accumulate a cost that only becomes visible when the damage has already begun. When I speak to patients who struggle with chronic knee pain, the story often begins the same way. "Doctor, I didn't injure myself. I don't even know how it started." They're often surprised when I tell them that most knee problems after 50 aren't caused by dramatic injuries. They're caused by daily habits that quietly erode joint health over years. Habits that can be changed if only we become aware of them in time. And that's what we'll explore together today, not through fear but through understanding. Because when you understand what's really happening inside your knees, you begin to see that you have far more control over your mobility and your future than you think. Let's start with the reality of aging joints. By the time we reach our 50s, the cartilage that cushions our knee bones has already endured millions of cycles of wear. Every step, every squat, every moment of pressure contributes. Cartilage doesn't have a rich blood supply like muscle does. Once it's worn down, it heals slowly, if at all. That's why small mistakes repeated daily can be far more damaging than one major injury. The knee is a marvel of engineering, delicate, complex and strong, but it was never designed to handle modern life the way we live it today. Think of long hours sitting at a desk, shoes that look good but strain alignment, diets that silently increase inflammation, and routines that neglect the muscles meant to protect our joints. Each of these habits alone may seem trivial, but together, they can slowly dismantle the very foundation of your mobility. So let's picture the knee for a moment, not as a joint, but as a living bridge between stability and freedom. It connects bone to muscle, movement to balance. It allows you to kneel beside a loved one, to climb a hill, to dance, to live without limitation. Yet beneath that graceful motion lies a fragile harmony. Inside, the cartilage acts like a smooth cushion between the thigh bone and the shin bone, preventing friction. Ligaments hold everything in perfect tension. Muscles around it, especially the quadriceps and hamstrings, stabilize and absorb shock. Blood brings nutrients. Synovial fluid lubricates each motion like oil in an engine. When any part of this system is strained or neglected, the balance breaks. And the first signal is always subtle, a small crackle, a dull ache, a sensation that the knees feel old. But knees don't simply age, they react. They respond to how you move, eat, rest, and even to how much stress you carry in your body each day. One of the most overlooked factors in knee degeneration after 50 is prolonged sitting. Most people know that being sedentary affects heart health or metabolism, but few realize what it does to joints. When you sit for hours, the muscles that support your knees, particularly your quadriceps and glutes, begin to weaken. As they lose tone, your knees absorb more pressure with every step you take. Imagine a suspension bridge with cables that are slowly slackening. Eventually, the structure itself bears the stress. The same happens with your knees. Weak supporting muscles mean the joint must carry more load. Over time, this accelerates cartilage wear and leads to the familiar cycle of stiffness and pain. What's ironic is that when knees begin to hurt, many people respond by moving even less, fearing that activity will make it worse. But this avoidance only deepens the problem. Muscles atrophy faster, blood circulation slows, synovial fluid thickens, the joint stiffens, the pain worsens. The body enters a loop of protection that ultimately leads to limitation. Then there's the quiet damage caused by diet. It's not the occasional indulgence that harms your knees. It's the persistent inflammation triggered by what we eat every day. Many foods commonly considered healthy for the heart or brain can still provoke low-level inflammation in joints. Refined sugars, processed grains, and even certain oils can increase inflammatory markers that degrade cartilage over time. But beyond food, dehydration itself plays a hidden role. Synovial fluid, that silky lubricant inside your knees, depends heavily on hydration. When you don't drink enough water, that fluid becomes less effective. Friction increases, and the cartilage suffers. It's not a dramatic event, just a slow, quiet drying of a system meant to stay moist and supple. Another often ignored factor is posture and alignment. Have you ever noticed how many people over 50 begin to stand slightly differently, shifting weight onto one side or locking their knees while standing still? This change in alignment alters how force travels through the legs. Over months and years, that imbalance wears one side of the joint faster than the other. The knee wasn't designed to carry uneven pressure indefinitely. It reacts by producing inflammation and pain as a defense. Even the shoes you wear can amplify this effect. High heels, hard soles, or shoes with worn-down support subtly distort posture. Every step then becomes a tiny misalignment, repeated thousands of times a day. It's not the walk that hurts you, it's how you walk. And then there's stress, an invisible but powerful contributor to joint pain. Few people associate emotional tension with knee discomfort, yet research increasingly shows that chronic stress elevates cortisol levels, which in turn increase inflammation throughout the body, including the joints. Think of the days when you're anxious or exhausted, how your body feels heavier, how your muscles tense unconsciously. Over time, that tension changes how you move, how you stand, even how you breathe. The body stiffens under psychological weight, just as it does under physical strain. When combined with poor posture, inactivity, and inflammation, stress becomes the silent amplifier of every existing weakness. If you're over 50, this combination, sitting too long, weak muscles, mild dehydration, poor posture, and chronic stress, creates the perfect storm for knee decline. It's not a single bad habit. It's the convergence of small daily choices. And because each one seems harmless, we rarely notice until the discomfort becomes part of life. But it doesn't have to be. The truth is, knee degeneration isn't simply a story of age. It's a story of neglect, of unawareness, of habits built in a world that rarely encourages movement, balance, or rest. The key to reversing it begins not with medication or surgery, but with awareness. Imagine walking again without that subconscious fear of pain. Imagine stepping onto a staircase without the cautious hesitation that's become second nature. That future is not as distant as it seems. It begins the moment you start paying attention to what your body is trying to tell you. Every ache is a message. Every stiffness a signal. The body is not betraying you, it's communicating. And the knees, more than any other joint, are masters of subtle communication. They speak in whispers long before they shout in pain. So when you feel that familiar tightness while standing up from a chair, pause. Don't just rub your knee and move on. Ask yourself, how long have I been sitting? Did I stretch today? Have I hydrated enough? Am I carrying stress in my body that my knees are absorbing? That small moment of awareness, of listening, can prevent years of discomfort down the line. Because knee pain is rarely sudden, it's cumulative. The body keeps score of every unbalanced step, every hour spent sedentary, every dehydrated day. And yet there's profound hope in this understanding. Because just as habits can weaken the knees, they can also strengthen them. The same mechanisms that lead to pain can be reversed through consistent care. Movement can be reintroduced, muscles can be rebuilt, alignment can be restored, inflammation can be lowered. The body can in many cases regenerate, not perfectly but meaningfully. The key is recognizing that prevention is not a single action, but a mindset. A commitment to treating your body as an ongoing project of care, rather than a machine to be pushed until it breaks. It's not uncommon for people to think, it's too late for me. But that thought is perhaps the most dangerous habit of all. The belief that change is no longer possible shuts down healing before it begins. Knees may not regenerate like skin or muscle, but they respond dramatically to the environment you create for them. When you improve circulation through gentle movement, nourish them with anti-inflammatory foods, hydrate consistently, and relieve mechanical stress, even worn cartilage can find a new equilibrium. Pain can decrease, strength can return, freedom can be restored. That's why awareness is always the first step. Because you can't change what you don't see. When you understand that 4 simple daily habits, common, innocent, almost invisible, can be quietly undermining your knees, you gain back control. Each of these habits is reversible. Each can be replaced with one that restores vitality instead of stealing it. But before we dive into those habits, it's important to grasp what's truly at stake. This isn't just about avoiding pain. It's about preserving independence, about maintaining the ability to move without hesitation, to explore without limitation, to live without fear of your own body holding you back. The health of your knees shapes the quality of your life more than most people realize. They're not just joints, they're the foundation of mobility, and mobility is freedom. So as we begin this exploration together, think of this not as a warning but as an awakening. The small discomforts you felt were never a sign of decline. They were signals of imbalance. The good news is balance can always be restored. You'll soon discover how 4 ordinary habits, ones you might never have questioned, can silently weaken your knees day after day. But once you recognize them, you'll see how easily they can be replaced with choices that strengthen rather than erode. The science is clear, the solutions are simple, and the transformation is within reach. It all starts with awareness, and that awareness begins now. If awareness is the first step, understanding is the second, because once you realize that knee pain is not random, but the result of consistent micro-stresses, you begin to see patterns in your own life, patterns you've lived for years without questioning. You wake up, pour your coffee, perhaps sit down at the table, drive to work or errands, spend hours sitting or standing still, and end the day exhausted. Somewhere in that routine lie the quiet habits that make your knees age faster than the rest of you. What's remarkable is that the human body adapts so well to its environment that we often don't notice deterioration until it reaches a threshold. You might feel a slight stiffness in the morning and think it's normal. You stretch, it goes away, and you forget about it. But inside the cartilage, the soft, smooth cushion that allows your knees to glide effortlessly, is enduring constant micro-trauma from repetitive misuse. You don't feel cartilage wearing away. You feel it only after the damage is done. Let's begin with one of the most deceptive culprits, prolonged sitting. It seems harmless. After all, sitting feels restful, but rest and stillness are not the same. Rest allows recovery. A stillness starves movement. When you sit for hours, the large muscles in your thighs and glutes disengage. Your body's alignment shifts slightly backward, and the natural curve of your spine changes the angle of your knees. Blood flow slows. Synovial fluid circulation, the lubricant that keeps your joints nourished, stagnates. Over time, this creates a kind of internal drought. The tissues that depend on gentle motion for nourishment begin to dry and stiffen. The ligaments lose elasticity. The surrounding muscles weaken, and the result is a slow, silent deterioration that most people attribute to aging, but is actually disuse. There's a reason astronauts lose muscle and bone density in space, despite being otherwise healthy. The absence of resistance, the lack of mechanical load, tells the body it no longer needs to maintain strength. The same principle applies when you spend too much time sitting. The knees, deprived of movement and stability training, begin to interpret stillness as irrelevance. They weaken not because they're old, but because they've been told, through inaction, that they're no longer needed at full capacity. Every hour of immobility sends that signal again. The body listens, the body adapts, and so the decline continues, quietly, obediently, and completely preventably. Then there's the posture most people unconsciously adopt while sitting, legs crossed or tucked beneath the chair. It might feel comfortable, but each position subtly twists the alignment of your knees. Over time, this uneven tension wears the cartilage more on one side than the other. You might even notice that one knee begins to ache before the other. It's not coincidence, it's asymmetry. The body's incredible design can compensate for imbalance for a while, but every compensation has a cost. Muscles on one side tighten, others weaken, and the knee becomes the battlefield where all these small forces collide. When you stand up after hours of sitting, you might feel a click or a pop. That's your body's way of relubricating the joint, an attempt to restore motion after stagnation. It's a mechanical sigh of relief, but over years the knee's ability to bounce back diminishes. The fluid thickens, the cartilage becomes less responsive, and what once felt like a brief stiffness now lingers as a dull ache that follows you through the day. The solution is not to avoid sitting altogether, but to interrupt it frequently. Every 30 minutes of sitting should be balanced with movement, simple, gentle motions that tell your body, I still need you, I still value your strength. The second habit that quietly erodes knee health is improper walking mechanics. You might think walking is the most natural movement of all, but very few adults maintain proper form beyond their 30s. Years of poor posture, weak core muscles, and tight hips distort how we distribute weight. Instead of rolling smoothly from heel to toe, many people stomp heavily on the heel or lean forward excessively, transferring more shock to the knees. The cumulative effect of this improper gait is enormous. It's like driving a car with misaligned wheels. Every rotation wears down the tires unevenly. You don't feel it right away, but eventually, the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. Consider this. Every time your foot hits the ground, the force that travels upward through your leg can be up to 3 times your body weight. If your alignment is off by even a few degrees, your knees absorb the excess. That's why people who overpronate, whose feet roll inward, often develop inner knee pain, while those who supinate, feet rolling outward, tend to feel it on the outer knee. Yet these imbalances are correctable. The problem is that most people never check. They buy shoes based on comfort or appearance, not biomechanics. And so, day after day, they unknowingly walk in a way that strains the very joints they rely on to move. Improper walking form becomes even more damaging when combined with weak stabilizing muscles. The knee doesn't act alone. It depends on strength from the hips and ankles. When those areas are weak, the knee becomes the default stabilizer. Forced to twist and absorb pressure it was never meant to handle. This explains why many older adults develop pain not from sports or injuries, but from ordinary activities like climbing stairs or stepping off a curb. The body, out of balance, begins to compensate through the knees. The more it compensates, the faster it deteriorates. The third silent habit is dietary neglect, not in the sense of overeating or poor choices alone, but in the consistent lack of nutrients that joints depend on for repair and resilience. The cartilage in your knees is made up primarily of collagen, a protein that requires amino acids, vitamin C, and trace minerals like zinc and copper for synthesis. As we age, our natural collagen production declines. Combine that with diets low in anti-inflammatory compounds and hydration, and the body simply lacks the raw materials to maintain joint integrity. Many people think joint damage is irreversible, but in truth, the body can stabilize and strengthen cartilage if it's consistently given what it needs. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fish and flaxseed, help reduce inflammation. Antioxidants from colorful vegetables protect against oxidative stress that accelerates tissue breakdown. Even something as simple as drinking enough water ensures that synovial fluid remains effective. Yet dehydration remains one of the most common and most underestimated causes of joint discomfort in adults over 50. When the body lacks water, synovial fluid thickens, becoming less capable of reducing friction. It's like driving a car with old sludgy oil. The parts still move, but with more effort, more heat, and more wear. Most people don't connect joint stiffness with dehydration, but once they increase water intake, they often notice their joints feeling looser, more cooperative, more alive. Hydration is one of the simplest forms of joint therapy, yet it's overlooked because its effects are gradual rather than immediate. The fourth habit that silently weakens knees is chronic stress combined with poor sleep. It might seem unrelated, but stress is not only a mental burden, it's a chemical one. When you're under continuous tension, your body produces higher levels of cortisol, a hormone that suppresses repair processes and increases inflammation. High cortisol levels reduce collagen formation, weaken ligaments, and alter your immune response, which can lead to slower recovery from even minor strains. Pair that with inadequate sleep, and you have the perfect recipe for degeneration. During deep sleep, the body releases growth hormone, the key driver of tissue repair. Without enough of it, microscopic tears in muscles and tendons remain unhealed. Over time, they accumulate into chronic weakness and discomfort. Think about how your body feels after a sleepless night. Heavier, slower, less coordinated. That's not just fatigue, it's your nervous system struggling to regulate movement. When sleep is consistently poor, your balance diminishes, your reflexes slow, and the knees, already vulnerable, must compensate for every minor instability. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Stress leads to poor sleep weakens the body, weakness increases pain, and pain causes more stress. Breaking that cycle requires both physical and emotional care. There's a quiet truth most people discover too late. Pain doesn't begin in the joint. It begins in the habits that surround it. Every daily choice, from how you move to what you eat to how you rest, writes a small chapter in the story of your knees. For years, those choices accumulate silently, invisibly. But the knee remembers. It remembers every sedentary hour, every missed stretch, every night of poor rest. And when it finally speaks, it doesn't whisper anymore. It demands attention. That moment, the moment of realization, is when awareness turns into urgency. Because once you feel pain, your body is already years into adaptation. But that urgency doesn't need to be fear. It can be motivation. A call to re-examine, to relearn, to rebuild. It's empowering to know that these 4 daily habits, prolonged sitting, poor movement mechanics, nutritional neglect, and chronic stress, are not fixed destinies, they're choices. And choices can be changed. But change begins not with a list of exercises or supplements, but with respect for the body's patience, for its resilience, for the quiet strength that remains even after decades of wear. When you start treating your knees not as fragile, but as partners deserving care, something remarkable happens. The pain that once felt inevitable begins to fade. The stiffness that seemed permanent begins to soften. Motion returns, slowly at first, then confidently. The body remembers how to heal when you finally stop interrupting it. Your knees have carried you through every chapter of your life, every step, every climb, every fall, every recovery. They've never asked for recognition, only cooperation. And now, as you enter a stage of life where every step carries deeper meaning, that cooperation becomes the key to lasting vitality. So before we explore how to rebuild what's been lost, how to nourish, strengthen, and protect your knees from further decline, pause and reflect on the habits that have quietly shaped them until now. Awareness gives you vision. Understanding gives you choice. And choice, at any age, is power. Understanding what harms your knees is one thing. Seeing what actually happens inside your body when these habits accumulate, that's another. Because knowledge becomes transformation when you can visualize the truth. So imagine for a moment that we could look inside your knees. Picture the cartilage, smooth, glossy, white, and strong. It glistens like polished ivory under a microscope. Each time you bend or straighten your leg, this cartilage compresses and releases, absorbing impact like a sponge, distributing pressure evenly through the joint. It's a silent, elegant dance, movement and cushioning in perfect harmony. But now imagine that same cartilage after years of neglect. It's no longer glossy. It's dull, uneven, thinning in spots where friction has gone unchecked. It doesn't absorb impact as easily. Each movement grinds instead of glides. This is the story that unfolds in silence, hidden beneath skin and muscle, unnoticed until pain arrives to translate it. The process is slow, like a candle burning down 1 millimeter at a time. You don't see the wax vanish each day, but one morning you realize there's almost nothing left. The knees deteriorate the same way, through gradual loss that feels imperceptible, until one morning you hear that familiar creak when climbing stairs and wonder when it began. The truth is, it began years ago, with the first habit you didn't know was a habit. The way you sat, the shoes you chose, the way you ignored hydration, the night you skipped sleep for the 3rd time that week. None of these felt significant in isolation. but together they built the conditions for decline. When cartilage thins, bones move closer together. They start to rub against each other with each motion, producing inflammation. The body tries to protect itself by sending more fluid to the area, which causes swelling and stiffness. You feel it as that morning ache that takes time to ease. But inside, it's your body's desperate attempt to cushion what's no longer being cushioned naturally. Over time, this inflammation produces enzymes that further break down cartilage, a cruel loop where the body's defense becomes part of the damage. That's why chronic joint pain feels so unrelenting. It's not only mechanical, it's biochemical, and if left unchecked, it can change the very shape of your bones. That's osteoarthritis, not a single disease but a process of remodeling gone wrong. But let's not think of this as a grim inevitability. Let's look deeper at the causes, at what your body is trying to tell you when it hurts. Pain, after all, is not punishment, it's information. When your knees ache after sitting too long, that's not aging. It's your body signaling stagnation. Movement brings nourishment. Each step acts like a pump, moving synovial fluid to deliver oxygen and nutrients to cartilage. Without motion, that flow stops. The tissue starves. When you finally move, it resists, stiff, angry from deprivation. But once movement becomes regular again, circulation returns. The body, patient as always, begins to restore equilibrium. Even at 50, 60, or 70, the body can adapt. It never forgets how to heal. It just needs an environment that allows it. Now picture another internal scene. The muscles that surround your knees. The quadriceps in the front, the hamstrings in the back, the calves below, and the gluteal muscles above. Together, they form a complex support system, a suspension network that stabilizes each step. When one of these muscles weakens, the others must compensate. For example, weak glutes cause the thighs to rotate inward slightly, which puts extra stress on the inner part of the knee. Weak quadriceps, on the other hand, shift pressure toward the kneecap, leading to that sharp ache when you climb stairs or rise from a chair. Each imbalance redirects force, and the joint suffers. The tragedy is that most people interpret pain as a signal to stop moving, when in reality, it's often a signal to move differently. Not less, better. Muscles, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, all of them live in an ecosystem. They rely on one another. When you stretch, strengthen, hydrate, and rest properly, you're not just caring for muscles, you're feeding an entire system that keeps you upright and free. But when daily habits neglect this ecosystem, inflammation spreads like smoke in a room. It dulls sensation, clouds recovery, and makes healing slower with each passing year. This is why those who spend years ignoring small knee aches often face sudden injuries that seem to appear out of nowhere. A torn meniscus while walking, a ligament strain from a simple step. These aren't accidents. They're the culmination of years of imbalance finally meeting one wrong move. Imagine your knee joint as a city. The cartilage are the roads, smooth and vital. The muscles are the workers maintaining those roads. The synovial fluid is the transportation network. And the bones are the buildings standing tall because everything functions in harmony. But when maintenance stops, when movement halts, when nutrition fades, when stress corrodes, the city decays. Cracks appear in the streets, traffic slows, the workers weaken, the buildings begin to lean. Pain is the city alarm. It doesn't mean the city is doomed, it means it's asking for repair crews. Let's take stress as an example of how emotional patterns can become physical. When you're anxious, your body releases cortisol. Cortisol in small doses is helpful. It wakes you, energizes you, focuses your mind, but in chronic excess, it becomes destructive. It suppresses collagen production and impairs the immune system's ability to regulate inflammation. The knees, already strained mechanically, now face a storm from within. The inflammation that should fade after minor strain lingers longer, doing quiet harm. Over years, this hormonal imbalance subtly weakens ligaments, slows recovery, and amplifies pain perception. That's not imagined pain, it's amplified pain. The nervous system becomes hypersensitive, making even minor discomfort feel sharp and persistent. And when sleep is poor, this recovery process grinds to a halt. During deep sleep, Growth hormone repairs tissues. Without enough of it, those micro tears in muscles and cartilage stay open longer. You might not feel it immediately, but after months of short nights and restless sleep, the cumulative damage becomes real. Your morning stiffness isn't just stiffness, it's unrepaired tissue crying for rest. This is why a night of good sleep can sometimes do more for knee pain than a week of medication. Rest is not optional, it's therapy. But even more than stress or sleep, posture plays a role that few recognize. Every time you stand with your knees locked or your hips tilted, you change the way force travels through your body. Over the years, this repetition trains your muscles and tendons to accept imbalance as normal. The knee joint, unable to argue, adapts by changing shape. Tiny bony projections known as osteophytes can develop where stress is constant. They're the body's way of saying, if you won't support me evenly, I'll reinforce myself. But that reinforcement brings stiffness and limits mobility. This is not aging. It's adaptation gone too far. And yet, for every mechanism of decline, there's an equal and opposite mechanism of repair. Movement restores lubrication. Strength rebuilds support. Nutrition reduces inflammation. Mindfulness lowers cortisol. Sleep renews tissue. Every system that breaks can also be rebuilt, provided you respect the laws of physiology. That's the beauty of human design. It's resilient when you understand its language. So how do you listen to your knees? Not with fear, but with curiosity. Start noticing when they hurt most. Is it after long periods of sitting? That means stagnation. After eating processed or salty foods? That means inflammation. After sleepless nights or stressful weeks? That means hormonal imbalance. The body speaks in patterns, and once you recognize them, you can respond intelligently. If you could measure the true cost of neglect, not just in pain, but in freedom, you'd realize how much mobility defines your quality of life. Think about all the things knees allow you to do that you rarely appreciate. Walking to the kitchen in the morning, gardening, playing with your grandchildren, standing on a beach with waves washing over your feet. Each of those moments depends on invisible strength, the kind you only notice when it's gone. That's why prevention matters so deeply. Because it's not about living longer, it's about living freely. The saddest stories I hear from patients aren't about pain, they're about limitation. Doctor, I used to love hiking. I miss dancing with my spouse. I just want to walk without thinking about it. You can feel the quiet loss behind those words. And yet when they begin to change their habits, when they start walking properly, strengthening deliberately, sleeping better, hydrating consistently, they come back months later not just moving better, but living better. Their eyes are brighter, their energy higher, their confidence restored. It's never just about knees, it's about regaining trust in your body. The impact of these habits reaches beyond the joint. When knee pain improves, balance improves. When balance improves, confidence returns. When confidence returns, movement expands. And when movement expands, health flourishes, circulation improves, metabolism accelerates, mental health stabilizes. The chain reaction of vitality begins with one joint, one habit, one conscious choice. The knee might seem small compared to the heart or brain, but it's a gateway to how you experience life. The freedom to move is the freedom to live. So when you next feel that ache, that stiffness, that subtle reminder that something's off, don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it as just age. See it as communication, as opportunity, because every sensation you feel is the body's invitation to change. And the moment you begin to listen, you stop aging passively and start living actively. That's where true longevity begins, not in adding years to life, but in adding life to the years you already have. Relief begins when awareness turns into action. The moment you decide that your knees deserve attention, everything changes, because from that point forward, you stop being a passive observer of decline and start being an active participant in recovery. The body doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency. It responds to care even if that care begins late. You could be 55, 65, or 75. Your knees will still reward you for every improvement you make. They will still respond to movement, nutrition, hydration, and rest. They are alive, responsive, and capable of renewal. The challenge is not in the body, it's in belief. Once you understand that healing is possible, The small steps that lead there no longer feel like effort. They feel like investment. Let's begin with movement, because that's the medicine most people forget. The right kind of motion acts like nourishment for your knees. Every gentle bend and stretch stimulates synovial fluid, delivering nutrients to cartilage the same way rain nourishes the soil. The secret is frequency, not intensity. You don't need to run marathons or lift heavy weights. In fact, the knees prefer moderation, movements that strengthen without strain. Low-impact exercises like walking on soft ground, cycling, swimming, or even Tai Chi create the perfect rhythm. Enough resistance to build strength, but not so much that it causes friction. Consistent movement also improves proprioception, the body's sense of balance and alignment, helping prevent those small missteps that often lead to injury. Start small. 10 minutes of walking every few hours can do more for your knees than an hour of sitting followed by intense exercise. The goal isn't to move more, it's to move smarter. When you walk, focus on your alignment. Keep your posture upright, your steps even, your weight distributed. If you notice that one knee tends to hurt more, don't ignore it. Explore why. Sometimes it's not the knee at fault, but the hip, ankle, or even the way your foot strikes the ground. Correcting gait imbalances can reduce stress immediately, and when you add gentle strengthening exercises, such as seated leg raises, wall sits, or bridges, you begin to rebuild the foundation that supports the joint. The stronger your supporting muscles, the less pressure your knees must carry. One of the most common mistakes I see is people waiting until pain is gone before moving again. But movement is often what reduces pain in the first place. The right exercises trigger the release of synovial fluid, increase blood flow, and activate endorphins, your body's natural painkillers. This is why, paradoxically, the more consistently you move, the less you hurt. But remember, pain-free movement doesn't mean reckless movement. It means patient, intentional activity guided by body awareness. If an exercise feels sharp or grinding, adjust the motion. Your body will tell you when it feels supported and when it doesn't. Listening to it is part of the healing. Next comes nourishment, the invisible repair kit that works from the inside out. Think of your knees as structures under constant renovation. They need the right materials to rebuild what time and stress have taken. That begins with anti-inflammatory foods. Omega-3 fatty acids found in salmon, sardines, and flaxseed reduce joint inflammation and help restore flexibility. Brightly colored vegetables like spinach, kale, and bell peppers are rich in antioxidants that neutralize free radicals damaging your tissues. Turmeric, with its active compound curcumin, has been shown to decrease pain and inflammation in arthritis patients when consumed consistently. Even small additions like ginger or green tea provide cumulative protection. But nutrition isn't just about what you add, it's also about what you remove. Processed foods high in sugar, refined grains, and industrial oils accelerate inflammation. Excessive salt leads to water retention, increasing pressure in the joints. Alcohol and sodas interfere with hydration and nutrient absorption. Every choice you make either feeds inflammation or fights it. There's no neutral ground. When you choose foods that support your knees, you're not dieting, you're rebuilding. And then there's hydration, one of the simplest yet most overlooked tools of joint health. Synovial fluid, which cushions and lubricates the knees, is composed primarily of water. Dehydration thickens it, reducing its ability to protect cartilage. The result is friction, stiffness, and accelerated wear. Drinking water consistently throughout the day, especially before and after movement, restores this delicate lubrication system. Herbal teas, mineral water, or hydrating fruits like cucumber and watermelon can also help maintain fluid balance. Think of hydration not as a routine, but as maintenance. You're not just quenching thirst. You're replenishing the oil in the engine that keeps you moving. One powerful but rarely discussed element of knee recovery is posture correction. Many people over 50 unconsciously develop patterns that stress the knees. Leaning forward while standing, locking joints while waiting in line, or walking with uneven strides. Over time, these postural habits create cumulative pressure on specific areas of the joint. To reverse this, practice mindful alignment. Stand tall, shoulders relaxed, knees slightly bent, weight balanced over both feet. Visualize a straight line running from your ears through your shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. That alignment isn't aesthetic. It's structural. It ensures that your body distributes force evenly, rather than letting one joint bear the burden. If you spend long hours sitting, adjust your workspace. Your knees should be at a 90-degree angle, feet flat on the floor, hips slightly above knee level. Every half hour, stand up, stretch, and walk for a minute. These small interruptions reset blood flow and prevent stiffness. Think of them as investments, not distractions. Your body will repay you with energy and comfort later. Now let's talk about the quiet healers, sleep and stress management. These two are often dismissed as lifestyle factors, but in reality, they are biochemical repair systems. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone and repairs microscopic damage to tissues. Without this recovery phase, even the best nutrition or exercise routine can't fully restore your knees. That's why establishing a healthy sleep rhythm, going to bed and waking up at consistent times, keeping your room cool and dark, avoiding screens before bed, is as crucial as any supplement. Sleep is where healing becomes regeneration. Stress, on the other hand, requires awareness and balance. You can't remove stress from life, but you can regulate your response to it. Chronic tension keeps cortisol levels high, slowing tissue repair and increasing inflammation. The goal isn't to eliminate cortisol, it's to restore its natural rhythm. Practices like deep breathing, meditation, yoga, or simply spending time in nature recalibrate the nervous system. These aren't luxuries, they're therapies. Each moment you spend calming your body reduces the biochemical noise that interferes with healing. Many of my patients are surprised when, after improving their sleep and stress habits, their knee pain decreases even before they start exercising. It's a reminder that the body operates as one integrated system. The knee doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a symphony of systems that thrive when harmony is restored. Healing the knees means healing the body's rhythm. And finally, let's touch on mindset. Because all the knowledge and routines in the world mean little without belief in your ability to improve. The mind influences physiology more than most people realize. Studies show that patients who expect recovery often heal faster and report less pain than those who believe decline is inevitable. The body listens to the brain. When you treat pain as a temporary imbalance instead of a permanent sentence, your nervous system responds differently. Muscles relax, blood flow improves, the immune system becomes more efficient. Optimism isn't denial, it's biological strategy. Every step you take toward better knee health, every glass of water, every stretch, every night of good sleep, is a vote for longevity. The body doesn't forget effort, it remembers care, it adapts to consistency, and it rewards you with freedom, the kind of freedom that allows you to walk, run, dance, kneel, and live without hesitation. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You rise from a chair without wincing. You walk upstairs without gripping the railing. You feel steady, confident, and mobile. That's not fantasy, that's physiology responding to patience. The knees you have now are not fixed in their current state. They're waiting for you to decide that they matter, and when you do, the body responds with gratitude in the language of motion. This is the moment when fear begins to fade and hope takes its place, because you realize that the same daily habits that once weakened your knees can now strengthen them. The same hours you once spent sitting can be filled with restorative movement. The same meals that once fueled inflammation can now rebuild tissue, and the same stress that once drained your body can be replaced by calm that restores it. Healing doesn't come from extraordinary effort, it comes from ordinary choices made consistently with awareness. Every day is a chance to send your body a new message. Every step you take toward health is remembered. The knees that carried you here still want to carry you forward. They just need you to meet them halfway. There comes a moment in every healing journey when knowledge becomes more than information. It becomes conviction. You no longer see your knees as a weakness to endure, but as a partnership to nurture. You begin to realize that every step you take toward health, no matter how small, creates momentum. This is where empowerment begins, not with fear of what's declining, but with gratitude for what still works. Because even after years of wear, the body's capacity to respond, repair, and renew remains astonishing. The human body is not fragile, it's faithful. It adapts to what you ask of it. And the moment you start asking it to move, to heal, to grow, it listens. For decades, many people have accepted the narrative that aging equals decline. They're told that pain is inevitable, that stiffness is permanent, that limited movement is just part of getting older. But that story is incomplete. Yes, the body changes with age, but it also becomes wiser. It learns efficiency, adaptation, and resilience. What it needs most from you is cooperation, not surrender. Your knees are not giving up. They're asking for partnership. And the message they've been sending through every ache, every crackle, every twinge of discomfort is simple. Remember me, strengthen me, move with me. When you listen, you begin to reclaim control not just over your joints, but over your sense of independence. Think about what mobility represents. It's more than the ability to walk or stand. It's dignity, it's freedom. It's waking up and knowing your body will support your plans instead of limit them. It's playing with your grandchildren without hesitation. It's choosing to explore, to travel, to live fully without being confined by pain. And it's achievable, not through miracles, but through mindful consistency, because the same habits that once weakened your knees can, when reversed, become your source of strength. Imagine waking each morning and starting your day with movement instead of stiffness. A few gentle stretches, maybe a walk around the block, a few moments of conscious breathing. Imagine replacing hours of sitting with intervals of standing and walking. Imagine nourishing your body with foods that reduce inflammation, hydrating like it matters, sleeping like it's sacred. Over time, those choices accumulate. The stiffness that used to define your mornings begins to fade. The ache that followed you through the day becomes a whisper, then silence. What was once decline becomes evolution, a return to harmony. You may not see progress every day, but your body will. Deep inside, tissues are responding, muscles are waking, ligaments are realigning, circulation is improving. Each cell in your body is quietly taking notes on how you treat it, and it responds accordingly. That's the remarkable truth about healing. It doesn't need to happen overnight, it only needs to begin. Once it does, the body takes over. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. The body prefers rhythm to extremes. A short daily walk beats a long weekend jog. A calm, nutrient-rich diet outperforms cycles of indulgence and restriction. Regular rest heals better than occasional exhaustion. Healing doesn't ask for heroism, it asks for respect. Respect for your own biology, for your body's limits and its possibilities. Now let's address the fear many people silently carry. The fear of re-injury, the fear of pain returning, the fear that effort will be wasted. That fear is understandable, but it's misplaced. Pain does not always mean damage. In many cases, it's your nervous system remembering old patterns, warning you to move with care. When you build strength and resilience gradually, you retrain the brain as much as the body. You teach it that movement is safe again, that the world is safe again, and once your body feels safe, it begins to thrive. You might be surprised how quickly the knees can adapt once given the right environment. Within weeks of consistent care, better posture, more hydration, mindful motion, you'll start to notice subtle differences. Climbing stairs becomes easier. Standing after sitting no longer requires a deep breath. Even balance improves. That's because your body is not static, it's dynamic. Every cell is replaced over time. You're literally rebuilding yourself from the inside out. Every positive habit accelerates that renewal. And what's even more inspiring is that healing your knees often leads to healing far beyond them. When you move more, your heart grows stronger. Your metabolism improves, your sleep deepens, your mind clears. The cascade of benefits is profound because the body was never meant to heal in parts. It heals as a whole. Every system supports every other. When one improves, all improve. That's why people who start taking care of their knees often notice they feel younger, lighter, more energetic. They rediscover enthusiasm for life. The science supports what your intuition already knows. Movement is medicine. Hydration is medicine. Rest is medicine. Food is medicine. But none of these work in isolation. They work together, like instruments in an orchestra. And when you begin to conduct them consciously, the result is harmony, not only in your knees but in your entire being. There's something deeply empowering about realizing that your future mobility is in your own hands. You don't have to wait for pain to decide for you. You don't have to wait for a diagnosis to start caring. You can begin today with one change, one walk, one glass of water, one better night's sleep. Over time, these choices become habits, and those habits become your foundation. The knees that once hurt will become symbols of your persistence. Every step you take without pain becomes proof of your commitment to yourself. You are not fragile, you are adaptable. The body you live in is not deteriorating, it's communicating. It's asking you to rejoin it in partnership. Because aging gracefully is not about resisting time, it's about respecting it. It's about understanding that each day offers a new opportunity to live with more awareness, more strength, more gratitude. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself a few years from now. You're standing tall, moving with ease, you're confident in your body again. You trust it. You no longer think about your knees when you walk. They've returned to doing what they were always meant to do. Support you quietly, faithfully, without complaint. You've replaced worry with confidence, fear with understanding, and stagnation with motion. That's the gift awareness brings, the ability to rewrite your story even in your 50s, 60s, or beyond. Because health isn't about chasing youth, it's about reclaiming vitality. And vitality is available to anyone who's willing to care consistently. You don't need perfect genes or extraordinary discipline. You just need presence. You need to listen when your body speaks, to respond with patience instead of panic, to move with intention instead of avoidance. Every time you choose movement over stillness, nourishment over neglect, calm over chaos, you're not just protecting your knees, you're protecting your freedom. And freedom, at this stage of life, is everything. It's the ability to say yes to what you love, to walk through life unburdened by the limitations of pain, to wake up knowing that your body will meet you where you are. You've earned that freedom. You deserve it, and it's not too late to claim it. So take this as your moment to begin again, not out of fear, but out of respect for the incredible body that has carried you this far. The knees that have bent to lift you, supported you through every challenge, absorbed every step, every stumble, every dance. They've been loyal. Now, they're asking for your loyalty in return. Treat them well, and they'll continue to serve you faithfully, powerfully, quietly, for years to come. And as you rise tomorrow, remember, every step you take with awareness is a step toward renewal. Every moment of movement is a message to your body that you're still choosing vitality, you're still choosing life. And that, more than anything else, is what true health means.